Verses 33 to 34, Arjuna asks a question. He says, this yoga very nicely declared by you of the nature of equality, evenness of mind, O Madhusūdana, Krshna, I see no stable foundation for on account of restlessness. For the mind is verily fickle, O Krshna, it is impetuous, strong and obstinate. It is as difficult to control as the wind. Arjuna asks a question to Sri Krishna that what he's saying sounds good, theoretically, but Sri Krishna has shown the way how to make one's thoughts one-pointed and how one can perform dhyan. But if you try to do it, then there would be difficulties. Does this question not also come into our minds? So many questions come to our minds. Arjuna has so many questions, and Arjuna is our true representative. That is why he is asking this question. Arjuna has asked Sri Krishna a very important question in these two verses. Arjuna says that he does not think this yoga will last. In the 35th verse, he describes 5 characteristics of the mind. They are, it's verily fickle, it's impetuous because it pulls us, it's strong, it's obstinate, and it's as difficult to control as the wind. It is impossible to catch the wind with your hands. Just like it is impossible to catch the wind, Arjuna says that it is as difficult to make the mind steady. It is difficult to make the mind steady. Arjuna is talking about all of our experiences. What can we do about the mind? In the Gita, Shri Krishna has spoken very deeply about the mind. In every chapter where Shri Krishna speaks, he at least says one thing about the mind. If you are sitting quietly, then flick through the pages of the Gita, you will see that in so many verses the word mind, 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 man is mentioned. The Gita is mainly a book of psychology. When people say that the Gita is a religious scripture in a traditional sense, then they take away some of its importance. This is because religion, in a traditional sense, make it sound as if it is filled with nice stories and meanings. This is not in the Gita. Sit down with the Gita and a pencil and see how many times the word mind is mentioned in the Gita. It is a book of psychology. That is what Sri Krishna has been describing this chapter. Thinkers have told us that we can draw 7 conclusions from what Sri Krishna has said about the mind in the Gita. The first is that the mind always creates illusions. That is what Sri Krishna has been saying in the Gita. And what type of illusions? The mind pulls human beings after objects. This is what the illusion is. The human being himself does not want to go after these objects. The soul does not wish to go after objects. The intellect also does not wish to run after objects. We discussed the story of Puranjan and Puranjali earlier in this chapter. The intellect walks hand in hand with the soul. The intellect has not got much interest in objects, but the mind pulls it towards objects. And in order to pull it away, it needs to create illusions. That is what the mind does. It pulls the human being. The senses do not want anything. The soul does not want anything. The intellect does not want anything. The mind stands in the middle and makes us run after objects. The wish to eat sweets arises in the mind. Therefore, the mind starts sprinkling water everywhere. The mind begins creating impressions inside the mouth that if the mouth eats all the sweets, then the soul will be happy. These sweets cannot reach the soul, but all these illusions are created by the mind. The mind is like a secretary sitting outside the boss's office. The boss is very well behaved and does not take any money from bribes. The person coming to meet the boss is also very well behaved, but he does not like giving any money for bribes. But the secretary is such that he says that if someone wishes to see the boss, then they should pay the secretary first. Not all secretaries are like this. The secretary said that everything will reach the boss, but the secretary puts the money in his own pocket. Nothing reaches the boss. This is the mind. The mind is like a corrupt secretary. It creates illusions. Secondly, if one tries to force or suppress his mind, then he will have no luck. Shri Krishna says this with great clarity. Ford was not the first person who said that suppression is wrong. The first person to do so was Shri Krishna. If one tries to force or suppress his mind, then he will have no luck. It leads to one's detriment. Thirdly, Shri Krishna says that if one uses understanding to bring the mind under his control, then he will have no luck. Therefore, you cannot force the mind with suppression because this will be detrimental. But if one uses the understanding to bring the mind under his control, then he will have luck. Fourth, Shri Krishna says that one should make the mind free from fickleness and one-pointed. One should keep working on his mind. One needs to make the mind free from fickleness and controlled. Fifthly, Shri Krishna said that mind can only be fickleness when one renounces a desire to enjoy material objects in his mind. When a person announces a desire to enjoy material objects in his mind, the mind can be free from fickleness. Sixth, devotion to God gives one peace to mind. Shri Krishna has drawn so many conclusions about the mind in the Gita. Devotion to God gives one peace of mind. Until now, you will not find a single person who has said that turbulence was created in his mind as a result of him having devotion to God. There is not a single person who has said that having devotion to God was detrimental and gave concerns to his mind. And if someone says this, then know that their devotion is wrong, or that they have not performed their devotion properly. But having devotion to God gives peace to mind. Seventh, Shri Krishna says that after having several continuous efforts, one can control the mind. One has to continuously make efforts. These are the 7 conclusions that Shri Krishna draws about the mind in the Gita. Here, Arjuna tells Shri Krishna that the mind is verily fickle, impetuous because it pulls us, strong, obstinate, and as difficult to control as the wind. Arjuna asked Shri Krishna why then he created the mind like this. And this has been said in all the scriptures, including the Upanishads. In the Kaushikati Upanishad, it is said, Mano Nama Devata Virodani. The mind is the God that disciplines us. In the Sarvapan, it is similarly said that Anasa Sarvani Dhyanani Apnati. All types of dhyan meditation can only happen through the mind. The Kena Upanishad says, Vachati Vacha Manaha. The mind is moving and cannot stay still. The Chandogya Upanishad says, Mano Amaha. The mind is moving and cannot stay still. The Bridanya Upanishad says, Ananta Vai Manaha. The mind is inexhaustible. The mind has so much interest vested in each of the directions that it cannot comprehend its strength. The Bridanya Upanishad also says, Sarvasham Sankalpanam Mana Ekayanta. All selfish will happens in the mind. In the Maitreya Upanishad, the Amrit Bindu Upanishad, and the Gamba Bindu Upanishad, it is said, Manohi Dvidham Proktam. The mind is of 2 types. It performs activities in the awake state and performs activities in the sleeping state. The Brahma Bindu Upanishad says, Manasa Mantana Bhutena. The mind is a dirt from the churning. Manas Chaivati Chanchalam. The mind is extremely fickle. And in the Skanda Purana, it is said, Snanam Manomanak Tyagaha. A true bath is one where the dirt from the mind goes out. A true bath here is not called one where just the dirt from the body goes out, but where the dirt from the mind goes out. This is what a satsang, a holy discourse, does. From all of these things, one thing is certain. Vayat adosva ram manaha. A human being must first win over his mind. How can one win over his mind? Arjuna said that God, everything you're saying is right, but this mind is fickle and it seems very difficult to control it. The question that arises from Arjuna, and same question arises for us who Arjuna, has so many reasons behind it. The first reason behind it is that we always draw negative conclusions about the mind. Every conclusion that we have drawn about the mind is negative. That is why we have just decided that it is not possible to make the mind steady. And this decision becomes the biggest obstacle of all for us, because once you accept something as difficult, then it is finished. We have decided that it is very difficult to control the mind. Secondly, we are drawing a conclusion in the present based on our experiences in the past. We think that we have turned 40 or 50 years of age, and throughout all these years, the mind has not been able to become steady. What will happen now? We make decisions in the present based on experiences in our past. This is the second mistake, because if we use this logic, then can we not also say, I have not died for 80 years, so I will not die. If one has not died for 80 years, then they will die quickly now. If we make decisions in the present based on our experiences in the past, then this logic will be wrong. But we do make such decisions in the mind, about the mind. Instead, if we consider what we think is impossible as possible, then our faith increases. We should keep a positive attitude. If we do not see something, then we think that it is impossible, but this is possible. The people that climbed Everest for the first time must have been thinking that nobody has done it before. They thought that it was impossible. Since the earth was created, not a single person had climbed Everest. It was impossible. Nobody had done it in hundreds of thousands of years in the history of the earth. Nobody in history had done it. They could have thought that we should leave it because we also nobody else has done it, so we won't be able to do it. But no, they thought that nobody has gone there, but we will. That is why they went there. And after they went, and many other people went. When we consider the impossible as possible, then our faith in a task increases. How was the aeroplane invented? It was an impossible belief because people saw birds fly and thought that humans could not replicate this. The Wright brothers thought, no, this will be possible, and they did it. Therefore, in dhyan meditation, one should have this attitude. Secondly, Arjuna gives this example of the wind. It is Arjuna's mistake in giving this example. One cannot catch the wind, but one can certainly make the mind steady. The reason for this is that the wind is matter and the mind is not matter. Whatever you call the wind, it is matter and its density is very low. It is matter. On the other hand, the mind is not matter. Then what is the mind? Thinkers give us a very beautiful definition. They say that the body is matter, the soul is consciousness, and the mind is a bridge between the body and the soul. The mind is neither matter nor consciousness. The mind is the link between the two. That is why the mind is not a part of the body and the mind is not a part of the soul. When the soul becomes liberated, then the mind goes away. The form of the mind goes away, and metaphysically, the mind is destroyed. If the mind was a part of soul, then how can its form go away? Because the soul is immortal. At the same time, the mind is not a part of the body, because when the body is dissected, then the mind cannot be found anywhere. The mind is not matter, and the mind is not consciousness. The mind is the link between the two. This is the mind. That is why if we wanted to use pure metaphysical knowledge, then we would define the mind as a bridge or the relation that links the material body and the conscious soul. And you cannot touch this relation. You cannot touch relations with your hand. This is because relations are not matter. That is what the mind is. The mind is a byproduct. It does not have a solid existence. When consciousness and matter combine, then you get the mind. Therefore, when the consciousness goes, then the mind is separated. The mind is a byproduct. Leaving this relation and making the fickleness steady is easy because this relation is a one-way relation. This is a relation fixed by matter with consciousness and not a relation fixed by consciousness with matter. The body has connected itself with the soul. The soul does not connect itself with the body. That is why the relationship of the mind has been created by the body with the soul and not by the soul with the body. That is why you should make the mind steady. If the mind had this weakness, then this would mean that the fickleness of the mind is a weakness of the body, or the weakness of the mind and the soul is greater than both of them. As soon as human beings know that the soul is strong, then making the mind steady becomes straightforward. A yogi that performs penances on a path of dhyan meditation must first be clear that the soul is strong. He should know that I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect, I am the soul, and the soul is stronger than all of these. Shri Krishna says in chapter 3, verse 42 of the Gita that Indriyani prananahu indriyani vyaparamanaha manastu parabuddhi yo buddhe tarasatu saha. The senses, they say, are great. Greater than the senses is the mind. Greater than the mind is the intelligence. But greater than the intelligence is he. Therefore, you are 2 stages above the mind. And if you are 2 stages above the mind, then you can definitely control the mind. This resolve comes to the yogi. This one-way relation is easy to break. Thirdly, if you logically think about it, then that which is fickle can become steady. But if something is not steady, that cannot become fickle. The mind is fickle, and that proves that the mind can become steady. If someone is running, then he can stop and stand still. But if someone cannot stand still, then can he run? No. The fact that the mind can run and become fickle means that the mind can also become steady. Therefore, fickleness is a characteristic of the mind, is a power of the mind, and not only that, it is a necessity of the mind. This is because if the mind were not fickle, then we would not be able to live, then the mind, and also the mind would not be able to live, and hence we would not be able to live. We've developed so much because of the fickleness of the mind. If you just look at the body and think about why we've got our fingers. Look at the other animals. They have paws in their hands. They do not have fingers. Our ancestors must have thought in their minds that they want to hold on to something, and again that they want to hold on to something. After thinking like this for generation after generation, after thousands and thousands of evolution, our fingers grew long. This is the fickleness of the mind. I am poor, I want to be wealthy, but the mind does not run there. But yet development took place. I am poor, I am fine the way I am. What is this? What was the case? If this was the case, where someone says, I am poor, I'm fine the way I am, then such a person would not advance. I am ignorant, I want to become wise. This is the fickleness of the mind. The mind moves so that the person could come out of the ignorance and aim to acquire wisdom. He now wishes to acquire wisdom. This is the fickleness. That is why there is development. Fickleness is not a fault of the mind, it is the root of the mind. Shri Krishna uses a very good word for the mind in the next verse jalatva, restless. He does not use the word chanchal, fickle. He uses the word jalatva, restless.